Listen only mode.
Well, hello and welcome to our DASA Deep Dive webinar. I'm very pleased that you could join us. We are going to spend some time today talking to you about the DASA DevOps principle number 2, create with the end in mind. But before we get started, I do want to launch a quick poll because I just want to ensure that you can actually see the slides this morning and you can actually hear me so that this is a good experience. Now, I do like it when I see that number. Excellent. Very good. That's a good start for our day. And for some of you, I'm sure it's your afternoon or your evening. So, again, welcome and thank you for joining us. My name is Deborah Burton, and I am your host and your moderator today. My day job is as the Channel Marketing Manager for ITpreneurs, but I am also the head of marketing for the DevOps Agile Skills Association. And again, it's my pleasure to welcome you. I just want to take a moment for those of you that may be new to DASA to kind of give you a brief introduction of DASA. As you can see on our screen, DASA is an open global initiative. Right now, we're made up of over 60 forerunners with more than 100 training partners, and we have courseware partners, and we also have exam service delivery partners, and we have launched DASA to really develop competencies for that will benefit individuals and teams and organizations. And we do this by offering thought leadership and real practical guidance for the guidance of competence development for Agile and DevOps skills. So one of the things that we do is we offer these type of 30-minute deep dive webinars. So I'm so pleased again that you could join us. What I'd like to do before I introduce you to our guest presenter today is launch one more poll because we are very interested in knowing a little bit about you. So could you tell us what your experience is with DevOps? Are you a DevOps guru or expert? Do you have some experience, or do you know a bit about DevOps, or it's all new to you? You don't have really a lot of experience in terms of this topic, which is why probably one of the reasons that you're joining us. Okay, wonderful. I see the majority of you have voted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close the poll and I'm going to share the results. So it appears that we do have some experts that are joining us today, which is very welcome. We always like it when people that have this expert proficiency can join us and contribute, ask us questions. Some of you have about 27%, but the majority of you really know a bit about DevOps and you want to know more. So I think you've come to the right place, and I appreciate you sharing your experience with us. So now let me go back to the presentation. And it's my pleasure today to introduce our guest presenter, Miguel Sens. He's a principal consultant at Xavia. Welcome, Miguel.
Thank you very much, Deborah.
So, before I turn it over to you, I just want to take a moment to give you a short introduction to our audience. So Miguel has worked in the IT industry for over 20 years. He started off as a Java developer and now works as a principal consultant solution architect at Xavia here in the Netherlands. He is also the co-writer of the book Continuous Delivery for Managers. Miguel specializes in continuous delivery and full life cycle software development programs, and as such focuses on coaching agile teams, setting up central build environments, automating test, automating development over multiple environments, and implementing fully automated PaaS platforms. He advocates the use of continuous delivery and DevOps practices at seminars and meetups, and remains in touch with details by performing actual implementations at customer sites as well. Aside from being an automator, Miguel is a master trainer and one of the main content providers for the DevOps Agile Skills Association DASA Fundamentals Training. So Miguel, again, welcome, and really, really looking forward to your presentation today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deborah, also for this thorough introduction. There's not a lot I have to tell anymore about myself. Just a quick bit. Indeed, as Deborah said, I moved from over the 20 years from Java development more towards architecture, and now consult organizations on basically on how to achieve cycle time reduction, because that's what it is all about in terms of DevOps. That will be the goal we would like to reach. And as such, I perform value stream analysis, perform cloud and continuous delivery assessments, and being the techie that I am, I also very much still implement automated software delivery pipelines myself, using tooling like Docker, Ansible, deployment automation, and such. And most of the things that has been brought into the DASA training is not only from the many books that have been written on the topic, but is also coming from the field, very much from the field. All the way from the everyday coding work to operating work to management styles, processing, and culture. Well, so it's a very broad topic, and let me just dive into it. Let's see if this works. Hold on. Go to the next slide here. Yeah. So DevOps. Yeah, it's we have all heard very much about DevOps. It's a topic which is resonating in the market today. And there are a lot of seminars on the topic, a lot of trainings, a lot of blogs, podcasts, and books, of course. And DevOps really is a large topic and touches upon many parts of the organization. So it is not strange that if you ask any person, it will probably give you a different answer on what DevOps really is. So to one, it might be about about culture, experiences, bringing up new ideas, collaboration, and a bit of a mentality. While if you ask another person, probably you will say it is about automation and about data center automation and that kind of thing. Well, if you ask another person, that person might answer, well, this is about lean and agile and aligning processes and organization. So if you look up on the internet a definition of DevOps, you'll probably see many definitions out there. Well, not probably, they are out there. I've checked it myself. And while most of them are pretty accurate in one or more aspects as they describe them, at DASA we chose not to create a new definition, but basically to start working from a set of principles. And this set of principles is much easier to use in the day-to-day work than probably thinking about a definition or so. So let me quickly go through all 6 of them, and then we point out, of course, DASA Principle 2. DASA Principle 1 is about customer-centric action, and this means listening to your customer. And really, you need to measure the things that you're doing. And when you have an idea, you put it out there. And if you measure something and it is not used, your idea is not used, just drop the idea as a whole. So it's really about putting the customer centric. DASA Principle 2, and we'll dive into this later, is about having a clear vision. And having this clear vision, create with the end in mind, will give you a very good sense of direction where you want to go to. And not so much focus on the process itself, but having your idea in your mind and following the shortest route towards establishing this idea. DASA Principle 3 is about end-to-end responsibility. So instead of individuals doing a specific task and then start working on another task, we would like to see that people work more in towards teams and take end-to-end responsibility for the product that they're working on, from concept all the way to its grave. And DASA Principle 4 is about cross-functional autonomous teams. We as human beings have far more skills that we can use than only the ones that we are working on in our day-to-day work. Yeah, think about it. We have a lot of skills that we would like that we have, but we really do not always tap into these skills. So cross-functional autonomous teams is about setting up teams with many skills in there and really trying to get the best and the most out of people by utilizing the skills that these people have. DASA Principle 5 is about continuous improvement. This is about really reserving time in your day-to-day work to improve your process, but also to improve the product itself. And as we are living in an ever-changing environment, we must do and apply continuous improvement. And DASA Principle 6 is about automating everything you can. Whenever you see a manual activity in your organization, you would like to automate it. So these are the 6 principles, and if you apply them to your day-to-day work, you probably will be moving into the right direction almost immediately. But for now, today it's about principle number 2. And DASA principle number 2 is about creating with the end in mind. And this is something that was dropped about 25 years ago by Stephen R. Covey and you can read all about it in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And create with the end in mind is really powerful because 2 things will happen. The first of all is that you will have an imagination in your mind. You will get a vision. So you start to act upon your imagination. And when the second thing that happens in your mind is that you will start to align your actions in line with your imagination. So the first thing is about you will create a sense of direction. You want to go north, for instance. And the second thing is that every activity that you will do in your day-to-day work, you will start to align with your goal towards moving north. So your vision is a really powerful guide here. And nothing really happens without the 2 things I just mentioned. If you ignore this principle, it's essentially the same as passively letting everybody or everything else around you decide what you will be or what you even will do. So this is really needed, that people will start to create a vision, a goal that they want to work towards. And if you think about it, if you want to achieve something for yourself, you will probably, and you want to do that with a group, you will probably think about, okay, who do I want to work with? Who do I trust here? And this is a bit about culture, of course. And you also might think about, well, I work with this group. Who will be doing what? How will we organize? This is about organization. And if you think about your idea, you also probably will think about the complexity and the structure of the idea itself. How can you break it down? How can you keep it as simple and obtainable as possible? This is all about architecture. And also, you will probably think about how will this group work together? Will we do it continuously? Will we do it in part? What will be the process? So you will start thinking about processes as well. And of course, you want to know, you want to start to think about what tools you will be using. For instance, will I do it by car? Will I use a shovel? Will I use a printer or anything? So this is about automation. And the last part you will probably be thinking about is how to keep on track. How will I be transparent in my achievements? And this is about measuring. So this principle is really powerful even in a day-to-day work. So let us apply principle number 2 in the things that we would like to achieve. And as we are in a DevOps, talking about DevOps today, probably many people will think, well, maybe let's think about moving towards becoming a DevOps-like organization. But a DevOps-like organization in itself is not a goal. It's not a goal in itself. It's just a means to achieve something. And what we would like to achieve is to become a high-performance IT organization. Now, what is a high-performance IT organization? These are the web innovators as we know them today. They really use IT and software as a strategic differentiator to be better than its competitor. And these fast movers really use automation and continuous improvement and have simplified operating models and put operation and development in sync to achieve just that, to become really, really fast. Well, we all know the big examples, of course, like the Amazons and the Facebook and the Netflix and the Googles and the Etsy's, Airbnb and Spotify. These are businesses using software really as the strategic differentiator. And the users which go to these organizations, which use these services, they really get higher expectations because they have really excellent delivery models. So they have higher expectations in terms of speed, reliability, personalized contact, and they expect fast response time and great customer services. So if we as a company want to be in the same league there, we at least need to replicate some of the behaviors that these companies apply. And that's what DevOps is all about. The things that we'll be talking about today are in line with what these high-performance IT organizations really are doing. Now, I don't know if you have heard about the State of DevOps report, but the State of DevOps report over the past 5 years surveyed more than 25,000 professionals in the industry. And that goes from top 500 organizations to lower, smaller size businesses, and goes over the areas of IT infrastructure, IT development, and consultancy, etc. And what these surveys explained is that there is a difference between high-performance IT organizations and low performance IT organizations. And the difference is that high-performance IT organizations typically deploy 200 times more frequent than their low-performance competitors. And at the same time, the high-performance IT organizations have 3 times lower change failure rate than their low-performance competitors. So this debunks the myth that if you deploy more often, you probably get more failures. That's just not the case. These high performance typically have 2,500 lower, shorter lead times to getting something into production than their low-performance competitors. If you think, for instance, about Etsy, Etsy treats everything as an experiment. So when they have an idea, they're not going to discuss it endlessly and go into board meetings. They just put this idea out there and measure whether the customer will be using it, yes or no. And the process to putting this idea out there is completely automated. And that's why they have such short lead times. These high performers typically have recovered 24 times faster from failures and have a 2.2 higher employee net promoter score, which basically means that people working in these type of organizations are 2.2 times more likely to basically recommend your organization as the place to work there, which of course is very interesting in the war on talent these days. So the reality when moving towards a high performance IT organization is that you have to deal with, of course, with culture and organization and architecture, long and rigid processes, ad hoc automation, and probably a no or ad hoc measurement. These are the realities that we need to deal with today. And a lot of books have been written on these topics. I mean, the Phoenix Project is all about lean and optimizing your processes and getting single piece flow. Continuous delivery is about the automation of the software development process. Agile IT organizations design focuses more upon organization. Lean enterprises tells the whole bit, including measurements. So the topics I just explained to you are really much the topics that you need to take care of in a DevOps-like environment. So create with the end in mind. Let's do it. So what are the elements of a high-performance IT organization? We would like to move towards a can-do culture characterized by enthusiasm and inspiration. We would like to achieve an organization and an architecture which is easy to navigate and align. We would like to use processes which continuously adapt to changing circumstances, which are agile and which are lean in nature. We would like to have every manual step automated. And we would like to have every activity measured for its effectiveness. Without it, we don't know where we're going, basically. So let's dive into detail. Create with the end in mind, a high-performance culture. The problem with a culture, or the difficulty with culture, is that you cannot oppose it from top down. So, for instance, let me say, if we want to have a campfire culture, I cannot ask or tell people to create a campfire culture for me. What I need to do instead is to supply wood. I need to supply drinks. I will need to supply some matches, maybe some marshmallows and some food. And when I start to do that, when many people walk around in this context, certain people will start to apply practices. One will put marshmallows on a stick. Another one will start light up a campfire. Another will start pouring the drinks. Maybe somebody will start playing the guitar. So when many people start to apply certain practices, they will automatically give rise to a culture. So that's how you can grow a culture. You basically get the culture that you saw yourself. So for a high-performance culture, if we want to have quality first, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we automate our tests. And we also need to automate every manual step that we have for deploying our application. We also need to verify together where we're happy with our end results. So you need to organize that. If you're thinking about a culture of continuous improvement, please make sure that you start measuring. So you need to have measuring in place. You need to organize meetings so you discuss together what can be improved and what cannot. You will need to reserve 10% of the time that is needed to really apply these improvements. If you want to have a culture about taking responsibility, you must make sure that people become end-to-end responsible for what they do, but also provide them the authority if they want to change something, to decide. If you want to have a culture which is about experimentation and risk-taking, you must make sure that if somebody has an idea, they can press a button and 2 or 5 minutes later, they will have instant sandbox environment and provide funding there. If your culture should be all about trust, make sure that people come together. I only trust the people that are really close to me. So organize things that people come together, make sure management is on the work floor, and make sure there's clear communication. If you take care of these aspects, you automatically start to create the culture that you want to have in a high-performance IT organization. What you also would like to achieve is to have an easy-to-navigate organization. The problem with complex organization is that it's slow, there are many handovers, and people will start to perform certain tasks without really knowing the context. So you would like to have an easy-to-navigate organization where you have as minimum dependencies as possible, as needed. So you would like to have product teams which can totally function autonomously from one another. And these product teams use a platform which is based upon intelligent infrastructure. And this intelligent infrastructure in itself has also been created by one or more platform teams. And the product teams do not have to talk to the platform teams. They use self-service and clear APIs for their products to land it on the piece of intelligent infrastructure. So you group people based upon function, because functional cohesion is much tighter, much closer. It's the highest form of cohesion in terms of, instead of logical cohesion as we see today. Logical cohesion is that we organize ourselves in silos. So now I make a bit of a sidestep. I don't know if you've heard about Conway's Law, but Conway's Law is named after Melvin Conway, and it says any piece of software will reflect the organizational structure that produced it. So if we work in a complex organizational structure, you're bound to create complex architectures. So that is why it is so important to start off with an easy-to-navigate organization. Because an easy-to-navigate organization or a simple organization will help us in creating an easy-to-navigate or simple architectures. And simple architectures, as we know them today, are typically microservice architectures. And microservice architectures have low coupling, high cohesion within. And you create functional slices in there which work end-to-end. So one microservice has really a functional way of working, and you can put them on your intelligent infrastructure and take them out again without disrupting other parts of your total application. And this is all stuff, this is all the end goal, right? We're all creating with the end in mind. This is the way where you want to move towards. For processes, create with the end in mind, you would like to have processes which are easy to adapt and to align to ever-changing circumstances. So these product teams that I've just been talking about need to be in the position to change the way that they're working so they can optimally adapt to the business that they are serving. And we also would like to work towards single piece flow. If, for instance, if you take in mind a car company and they put tires on the cars, but all of a sudden the axles are too big, you will see a pile of tires stacking up and you know something is wrong. With software, that's far more difficult. I mean, we create software where you can't see it. It's in somebody's computer. So it is very important for us to create single piece flow there and attach this to user stories which are visually on a board. Because as soon as user stories start to stack up, we know there's a problem somewhere and we can really start solving this. So that's why processes need to be easy to adapt, and that should be our end in mind. The end in mind in terms of automation should be that we start to automate every single manual step. That means automate the software delivery pipeline, use version control, automate your unit test, automate the build, automate your deployment, and automate your provisioning of your target environment, and start measuring. As long as we do manually here, we will not be able to perform cycle time reduction. We will slow down. And we need to start to deploy our systems to intelligent infrastructure, as I like to call it. That's not infrastructure which is managed by hand, or patches that are applied by hand, or software that is deployed by hand. All the software and all the systems are automatically created by using automation. Or you can, of course, also use the cloud solutions that are already out there today, if you don't want to create it yourself. And end in mind, create with the end in mind, we need to measure everything for its effectiveness. If we don't do this, we do not know where we're going, and we do not know whether the things that we are doing are really effective. As long as we start continuously talking about it, everything still is an hypothesis. Did you, for instance, know that far more than 50% of the functionality in software that we create nowadays is rarely or never used? Can you imagine what the efficiency improvement it will be if we start to do things which really matter? And 60 to 90% of the ideas that do not improve key metric they were intended to improve. This is something that was coming out of Amazon's data mining and personalization group. So our company, for instance, says, let's grow memberships, and then we start to deploy functions that really do not add to this strategic directive. So if we start to measure, we can deal with that. So create with the end in mind. What we would like to create is the high-performance IT organization. And for that, you need to think over the different perspectives of culture, organization, architecture, processes, automation, and measurement. And the end in mind, I've just explained to you. And if you keep this in mind, you know the direction that we want to go. I don't know if you have ever heard about anti-fragility, but anti-fragility is if you get a parcel delivered that has fragile written on it and you throw it down forcefully, whatever is inside is in a worse condition than it was before. And that's fragility. Now, if you take a parcel and throw it down and its contents are in the same state, then you're robust. But the opposite of this is anti-fragile. And what we need to become as organizations, anti-fragile. If we can become organizations that can benefit basically from disruptions out there, you're in a pretty good state. But for that, you need to be agile, you need to automate, you need to be fast, you need to be simply organized in order to achieve just that. So keep that in mind as well, I would say. So I know this is a lot to take in, and I know I was really fast. I noted the time a bit, so that's why I was talking really fast. But there's so many topics, huh? Processes, intelligent infrastructure, architecture, continuous delivery. How do we connect all these dots? Well, this needs to come from within, and we do that typically by talent management. And one way to do talent management, of course, is to set up coaching, people coaching one another, involving your whole organization in the things that you're doing, into the decision making, letting people experiment and try out new things. That's stuff. Those are things that you really learn about as a person. But another thing, of course, is to make use of proper training in what we are trying to achieve. And that's basically where DASA comes in. And DASA is a way to really move your organization and the people within your organization, make them understand what it is that we are trying to achieve when becoming a high-performance IT organization. And for that, we created a program which starts with DevOps Fundamentals, which explains basically what I've just explained to you, but then in far more detail, and also provides you handles on how to get there. And on top of that, we have Practitioner, of course, which puts you in the, gives you the experience. And on top of that, we set 3 expert directions. One is Enable and Scale, which is about making DevOps bigger in your organization. Specify and Verify. This is about specifying your functions and write your functional specifications in a testable manner. And Create and Deliver is all about the technology underneath it. Yeah, that's about cloud automation, using Docker, software craftsmanship, and so on and so on. And I think we really set a curriculum here which really moves you in, or can move you into the right direction. So I see it's time now. I'm a bit over time, so I'm sorry I talked so really fast. I think the slides will be shared with you, of course, later on, and maybe over to you, Deborah.
Yes, of course, and thank you, Miguel. And you know, it's the time went fast because it was so very interesting to really understand how high performance IT organizations work, and that at the end of the day, every company is really a software company, and understand the culture, the organization, architecture, processes, automation, and measurement. That's all very key and important. So thank you for sharing that with us. I do want to check with the audience to see if we have some questions. I do have a question for you. Where would you start implementing DevOps in an organization?
Yeah, this is always a good question. Where do you start? Do you start within the organization itself? Do you start at the top? What I always see is that within the organization, the people work there have more or less an idea how they could improve their own way of working, but they are just not allowed to change their working, or the workings around them prevent them for improving. So I always would say, as an organization itself, with the people there, get well known with the topics I've just explained to you, because this is where I think the world is going and IT organizations are going. But when you really want to do it right in an organization, you really have to have management buy-in. Management needs to understand what this means for their organization and what it means, that how they treat their own people and the room that they provide to their own people to really improve the people in your organization as well. So I would like to start with management, but that's not always that easy. But it is essential to have management buy-in here to really make the change that is needed. Yeah.
And one last quick question for you is, why is a simplified organizational model so important?
Yeah, that's a good question. The simplified organizational model is so important, since I see that within organizations we often get the directives from management or from any other person to optimize, to make our architecture better, to speed up our delivery process, or to make our system simpler. The problem is that if we work in complex organizations, like I just discussed, Conway's law prevents me to create simple applications as long as I'm working in a complex organization. So if we want to simplify things, if we want to get rid of our technical debt, we also need to organize more simply, because that will give people also authority and how to call it, the power to really change application structure and architectures and the systems around it. Yeah.
Okay, well, great. And thank you for that. And Miguel, thank you for your presentation today. It was really well appreciated. I just want to take a quick moment to let our audience know a couple of things. First, we will be providing you a recording of this session as well as the slides, but there's some other upcoming webinars that you might want to also attend. I'll be hosting a Join Our Global Movement, Go DASA webinar, all about membership on the 29th. We will also have another DevOps Principle number 2. So if some of your colleagues missed this one, they can join us on December 7th. And then we're also going to be having our DASA Master Series webinar, and we're going to be really delving into why there's a need for new skills. So I hope that you can join us. So Miguel, thank you so much to our audience. These are our contact details. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We want to thank you for your time today and thank you for joining us. And we hope that we can hear from you and speak to you again. So Miguel, thank you. And everyone have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.